Welcome to Tale Spinners, where we bring stories to life. In this video, we present to you the curse of the eternal lovers. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel and join us on this adventure that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Without further ado, let's begin. In the heart of ancient Rome, on a cold, moonless night, two lovers were making their way towards the Colosseum. They were holding hands, their eyes locked in a deep and intense gaze. Her name was Alessia, and his was Lucius. They were deeply in love, and they had been so for years. But tonight, they were not alone. As they approached the Colosseum, they heard strange whispers and saw shadows moving around them. They brushed it off as their imagination and continued walking. But the whispers grew louder, and the shadows became more pronounced. Suddenly, they were surrounded by a group of hooded figures. Alessia and Lucius tried to run, but they were quickly overtaken. The hooded figures grabbed them and pulled them towards the entrance of the Colosseum. They were dragged into a dark chamber deep beneath the ancient arena, and there, they saw something that chilled them to the bone. In the center of the room was an ancient altar, and on it, there lay a dark, ominous-looking book. The hooded figures began chanting, and suddenly, a bright light filled the room. Alessia and Lucius were transfixed, unable to move, unable to speak. The hooded figures continued to chant, and as they did, a shadowy figure emerged from the shadows. It was a tall, ominous-looking man with a long, flowing robe. He approached the altar, picked up the book, and began to read from it. Alessia and Lucius watched in terror as the man chanted, his voice growing louder and more sinister with each passing moment. Suddenly, the ground shook, and a deep, guttural growl echoed through the chamber. The hooded figures scattered, and the man vanished into thin air. Alessia and Lucius were left alone, shivering with fear. They tried to leave, but the doors were locked, and there was no way out. They were trapped. As they sat there, wondering what to do, they heard a soft, melodious voice coming from the shadows. It was a woman, and she spoke to them in a language they didn't understand. They were afraid, but they listened. The woman told them a story of love and death, of a curse that had haunted the city of Rome for centuries. The woman told them of two lovers, a man and a woman, who had defied the gods and had fallen deeply in love. But their love was forbidden, and they were cursed to live forever, trapped in an eternal cycle of love and death. Alessia and Lucius listened in horror as the woman continued the story. She told them that they too were now cursed, that they too would live forever, trapped in an eternal cycle of love and death. They would be doomed to watch each other die over and over again, never to be reunited until the end of time. Alessia and Lucius were horrified, but there was nothing they could do. They were trapped in the chamber, and the curse had already taken hold. They embraced each other, their love stronger than ever, and waited for the end. The next morning, the chamber was empty, and the doors were unlocked. No trace of Alessia or Lucius was ever found, and the legend of the curse of the eternal lovers continued to haunt the city of Rome for centuries to come. But what no one knew was that Alessia and Lucius had broken the curse. They had found a way out, a way to be together forever. They had broken the curse by sacrificing their love for each other. They realized that their love was too strong to let the curse control them, and that they could not bear the pain of losing each other over and over again. So they made the ultimate sacrifice, they gave up their love. They left the chamber, their hearts heavy with sadness, and made their way out of the Colosseum. As they walked, they felt the weight of the curse lifting from them, and they knew that they had succeeded. They had broken the curse of the eternal lovers. But as they walked through the streets of Rome, they realized that the curse had not only affected them. They saw couples walking hand in hand, their eyes filled with love and longing, and they knew that the curse had affected many others as well. Alessia and Lucius knew that they had to find a way to break the curse for everyone. They spent years studying ancient texts and searching for clues, until one day they found it, the secret to breaking the curse. They gathered all the cursed couples in Rome and performed a ritual to break the curse. It was a long and difficult process, but they succeeded. The curse was finally broken, and the couples were free to love each other without fear of eternal separation. Alessia and Lucius were hailed as heroes, and their names became legendary in Rome. They continued to live their lives together, their love stronger than ever, knowing that they had saved countless others from a fate worse than death. As they grew old together, they often talked about the curse and how they had broken it. They knew that their love had been the key, and that it had given them the strength to do what was necessary. And as they took their final breaths, they knew that their love would endure, even beyond death. Their spirits were said to roam the streets of Rome, still watching over the city they had saved. And every now and then, a couple in love would see two ghostly figures holding hands and walking towards the Colosseum, and they would know that it was Alessia and Lucius, forever in love, forever together. Despite the centuries that passed, the legend of Alessia and Lucius continued to be told in Rome. People would share their story of undying love and the sacrifices they made to break the curse that haunted the city. However, with the passage of time, the legend had changed, and the details of their sacrifice had become somewhat distorted. One day, a young couple visited the Colosseum, and they were drawn to a particular chamber in the ruins. As they entered, they noticed a faint glow, and as they approached it, they saw the outline of two figures. The figures became clearer as they approached, and they realized that they were looking at the spirits of Alessia and Lucius. Alessia and Lucius greeted the couple warmly, and the couple was surprised that the spirits were friendly and not the vengeful ghosts they had heard about in the legends. They listened as the spirits recounted their story of breaking the curse, and the young couple was moved by their love story. The spirits shared with the couple a new piece of information: the curse was not entirely broken. They explained that the curse was not entirely based on the Colosseum or Rome itself, but it was a product of the powerful and ancient magic that was spread across the land, and it would only be entirely broken when two people with pure hearts and a selfless love would break it entirely. The couple was amazed by this new revelation, and they asked the spirits how they could break the curse. The spirits told them that they had to travel across the country, to a place where the ancient magic was the strongest, and there they would find what they were looking for. The couple knew that they had to embark on this journey, and so they set off, leaving the Colosseum behind. They traveled for many days, crossing hills and valleys until they reached the mountains. There, they found a hidden cave, where they discovered an ancient and powerful stone, glowing with a light that they had never seen before. As they approached the stone, they felt a powerful force pull them towards it. Suddenly, they were transported to a strange and unfamiliar place, surrounded by a mysterious energy that seemed to pulse around them. In the center of the room, they saw two figures standing, one of which was a beautiful woman with long flowing hair, and the other was a man with broad shoulders and a powerful physique. They knew that these were the spirits that the previous couple had talked about. The couple knew what they had to do. They had to sacrifice their love for each other, the love that had brought them on this journey, and had been their guiding light through everything they had faced. With tears in their eyes, they took each other's hands and walked towards the spirits. the spirits told them that they were the only ones who had been brave enough to make this sacrifice and that they had broken the curse of eternal love. They also explained that the curse would never haunt Rome or its people again. The couple smiled at each other, knowing that they had done something extraordinary. They returned to Rome to share the story of their journey and how they had broken the curse entirely. The people of Rome were amazed and inspired by their story, and they knew that they could love each other freely without fear of eternal separation. The legend of Alessia and Lucius became a symbol of hope, a reminder that love can conquer all, even the most powerful curses. From that day on, the couple lived a long and happy life together, always remembering the journey that had brought them together and the love that had led them through it. They knew that they had done something remarkable, something that would be remembered for generations to come, and that their love had set Rome free from the curse of eternal love. As the years went by, the story of the young couple who had broken the curse of eternal love became a cherished legend among the people of Rome. The tale of their selfless sacrifice for the good of the city had become a symbol of the enduring power of love, inspiring generations of lovers who visited the Colosseum, hoping to catch a glimpse of the two spirits that continued to roam the ruins. Many years later, a young archaeologist named Julia arrived in Rome to study the ancient ruins of the city. She had always been fascinated by the stories of Alessia and Lucius and the curse that had plagued the city for centuries. She was determined to discover the truth behind the legend, and she spent many long days and nights exploring the Colosseum and other ruins, searching for clues to the ancient curse. One day, as she was examining a crumbling wall in the Colosseum, she noticed a small crack in the stone. Curious, she reached out to touch it, and as she did, she felt a strange energy surge through her body. Suddenly, the world around her began to spin, and she found herself transported back in time to ancient Rome. As she looked around, she saw that the city was vastly different from the Rome she had known. The streets were crowded with people in togas and sandals, and the buildings were made of marble and stone. She realized that she had been transported back to the time of Alessia and Lucius. As she wandered through the city, Julia felt an eerie sense of familiarity, as though she had been there before. She couldn't explain it, but it was as if the spirits of the two lovers were guiding her every step. As she walked, Julia came across a small courtyard, and there, she saw Alessia and Lucius sitting on a bench, holding hands. They looked up and saw her, and for a moment, they appeared surprised. "A visitor," Alessia said, smiling. "It's been a long time since we've had a visitor in this time." Julia couldn't believe her eyes. She had always thought that the story of Alessia and Lucius was just a legend, but here they were, alive and well, sitting right in front of her. Alessia stood up and walked over to Julia. "What brings you to Rome, my dear?" she asked. "I'm an archaeologist," Julia said, still in shock. "I've always been fascinated by your story, and I wanted to learn more about it." "Well, you've certainly come to the right place," Lucius said, joining them. "We can tell you everything you need to know." For the next several days, Julia spent all her time with Alessia and Lucius, learning everything she could about the curse of eternal love. They showed her ancient texts and artifacts that had been lost for centuries, and they told her stories of their love and the sacrifices they had made to break the curse. As the days passed, Julia realized that she had fallen in love with Lucius, and he with her. They spent many long nights together, talking and sharing their hopes and dreams for the future. However, as much as they loved each other, they knew that their time together was limited. Julia knew that she would have to return to her own time eventually, and Lucius knew that he could not leave Alessia behind. On the day before Julia was set to leave, she and Lucius sat together on a bench in the courtyard, holding hands. Tears streamed down their faces as they knew they had to say goodbye. "I will never forget you, Lucius," Julia said, her voice choked with emotion. "I will always love you."